another episode of the Goodman Podcast. And today we're looking at a story that's shaking up the tech world. Amazon Web Services is investigating Perplexity AI. If you don't know who Perplexity is, they're a research startup backed by big names like Jeff Bezos and NVIDIA. And there have been allegations that Perplexity has been scraping content from major websites that explicitly blocked such actions. So, Raj, this is quite a big one. What are your initial thoughts on this story?
Well, this is a big one because Perplexity is such an important company in this industry. They have got a reasonable market share. Soon they'll get even bigger and bigger. And this idea of web scraping, whether it's genuine or not, I'm not sure yet. But from what I'm hearing is that it could be really interesting to see what happens here, because whatever happens here, Perplexity, which has, as you mentioned earlier, a search engine startup which competes directly with Google. The opportunity here is that it might become the de facto style of creating a AI search engine. Even Google will probably use them as an example to expand. This is why it's so important. Now, just to kind of go back a little bit, search engines, when you are a search engine, you follow a file called robot.txt. It's like a guideline for the bots from search engines, which allows you to scrape or not scrape data. According to search engines, that is the guideline for the bots to enter your site. The founder of Perplexity says that, listen, if you blame us or you accuse us of scraping data, you don't understand the fundamentals. His point of view is, well, we are only scraping websites when we are asked to do particular pages. So we're not scraping on blanket scraping. We're just doing particular requests for the user. In that case, you should consider the AI bot as a human being, not as a bot like a search engine bot. So the argument is very interesting. It's a very hard case to discuss because it has legal implications and technical implications. It depends which hat you put on, as well as if the founder's argument stacks up. So we have to wait and watch, but it's a very interesting one and can guide the future of search engine using AI.
Yeah. Now, I think it's called the Robots Exclusion Protocol, if I'm not mistaken. And this isn't really legally binding, although it's usually respected. So by ignoring this protocol, how is Perplexity, how might it affect their reputation and their partnerships in the tech world? Because regardless of whether it's legally binding or not, there's still an ethical issue at the end of the day.
You raise a great point there, Megan. The issue and the opportunity in tech is that we don't have a ton of legal guidelines. That, on one hand, causes challenges for companies because they can't, for example, patent stuff, for example, they can't, they have a very loose framework. But equally, that allows us to be more innovative and rapid in growth. Look at the whole tech, web, internet has grown so rapidly thanks to these frameworks, guidelines. Now, the other part of that is that obviously these are guidelines. These are not legally binding, but in tech we do follow them, and these are guidelines we try not to sort of jump over. So yes, from a legal standpoint, they should be okay. But from the point of view of loosely created framework, which we all believe in and follow, there were some challenges there for them. All in all, Amazon would care about them because they are a very tech-enabled company. They sell online. AWS, Amazon Web Services, powers a lot of internet startups. They run their servers, their functions. So it's really important to them. And I would believe that they will look at this and they will make sure that these guidelines are not skipped or jumped over.
Yeah. To me, it sounds kind of like the typical one person messes it up for everybody else, because everyone's kind of been following the rules even though they're not legally binding, and now this has come along and kind of shaken things up. So we are probably going to move towards something that is going to be more legally binding from here on in. How is this going to affect the overall tech industry, and leading to kind of new regulations or standards for AI and web scraping?
Well, it's interesting because when you look at the implications for companies, if we scrape someone's data from the website and we use it to power our search engine or our tool, potentially we're taking away ad dollars from their website. And that ad dollars which were going to go to them might come to us. So there is a challenge there with this. That is the financial implications of it. Saying that AI bots or AI spiders or AI crawling can be thought about as intelligent crawling. Intelligence is the same way human beings have. So if the human beings explicitly ask a bot to go to a site, which is the AI bot, to scrape a data for you, is it the fault of the AI tool, or is it the challenge of the person who has asked them to go and visit that website to give them answers? So this is the argument which they will have at Perplexity and say, listen, we're only scraping once you ask us as a user to go to the site and find more information. If you don't, then we don't do a blanket search because we follow the protocols laid down. And I'm not sure they will have legal guidelines available, but this, if they are fined or if Amazon does find them guilty of not following the robot.txt guidelines, then they will have some challenges. They are a big investment company, so there are implications of this. And once we have the answer to this, or if they have a new mandate, that will help us guide us for future startups coming in this space as well.
Yeah, yeah. Now, let's take a step back from this particular story and have a look at the industry as a whole, because obviously AI companies need large data sets to improve technologies. And we've discussed this a couple of times where, like OpenAI, for example, has done deals with Reddit and with news companies to buy data sets. Um, that's one way to handle the kind of fair and transparent use of digital content. But is there a way to, is this going to be the way forward now? Because not everybody has got those kind of funds available to buy giant data sets. Is this going to kind of devolve into our company's got more money than you, and so we can afford better data, and so essentially, we're going to see a handful of tech companies with really big budgets float to the top of the pile, as we have seen with other technologies?
Yeah, again, a really interesting question there, Megan. The answer is not simple. So just a few days back, Mustafa Suleiman, who is the CEO of Microsoft's AI division, said that any content on the open web can be used for AI inception or training, in his opinion, which leads to all the other publications being a bit nervous about it. It's a bit like a seesaw. Constantly, every week we have a different use case coming out where someone is saying, this is okay, someone's saying, no, it's not okay, and we don't have the real answer. We might have to get the courts involved in it. But there's a thing called fair usage in open web. So you can use the data for inference in a fair manner, but there's no data available of what's fair and what's not fair. So it's really hard to say at this point in time, in the early days of any technology. It's a bit of a wild west. You can do whatever you want to do, and then eventually you have guidelines available. For the time being, there will be people who will be scraping the actual web, getting data off, might not follow the whole robot um, allowance or not to be allowed on the website. It's just what's going to happen initially, and it's happened in the past. It has happened several times when new technology came out, and then there were rules formed, right from crypto to digital to the World Wide Web, things before several times. So it's a matter of time. There will be rules in the next few months, years. Till then, go ahead and do what you have to do. Build a startup,
Yeah.
make some money, and then say sorry and get a bit of a fine. That's
Yeah.
what people do.
Yeah, I think it's like with anything, people will push the boundaries to see how far they can push them, and they will push them too far, but then that sets like a benchmark of this far and no further, like anything past this point. And unfortunately, you do need these people to push the boundaries in order to find that point. So it's a very uncomfortable position for a lot of people in the meantime, but I think it's just a natural evolution of anything really, is to find that boundary.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with you. Again, this is the way that the whole tech thing has evolved. This is how we become what we become, and yeah, break things and just say sorry is the way which Facebook expanded as well. So let's see how far that takes us before we get some more fines and record deals being struck in the industry.
Yeah. So, considering everything we've discussed, what kind of key lessons or actions should other AI startups and digital content creators take away from this Perplexity investigation to avoid similar issues and ensure ethical practices within their own content creation and companies?
One contrarian outcome for me is that Perplexity now is a major player in the search AI space. I mean, it's bigger than people imagine it to be. They are going to lead the way in the search. There's no doubt about that. That's one. Number two, at this point in time, there are no rules of scraping. There are frameworks and guidelines, but no one really knows. So it's okay to kind of break rules. I'm gonna regret saying this, but this is what I can see at the moment. What it says, try to follow the rules if you can. If you can't, keep a close eye on the regulations coming up, because there will be some really important regulations coming up, and a lot of people being sued on the back of this data being consumed at scale.
Yeah. Cool. That's all for this episode. Thank you to the listeners and viewers, as always, for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, join the conversation by leaving a comment or popping us a DM. We'd love to hear your thoughts on, how you think cloud service providers like AWS should handle cases where their terms of service are potentially violated by their customers. So yeah, pop us a DM. And until next time, thanks, Raj. We'll see you around.
Megan.